Hello everybody, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Glad to have you here. As you can see, back in the woods again for another video. This spot is really cool back here. It's kind of like its own little open area because the rest of the forest is pretty dense in trees. But back here, you've got all this open space. So, and this area right here, this is actually where I used to do, it used to be those two trees right there. You can see all that, all those sticks. It used to be like a little shelter. You could, it would protect you from the rain and you could sit underneath of it here. And then my magic circle would be right around here. And so this whole area right here, if you can see it all, that's where I used to do my practices. Used to come back here and meditate every single day. Would do my LBRP, my middle pillar, whatever else, that I had going on. That was between like 2016 and 2019 mostly, so somewhere in that time frame. It may have started actually in like 2015, possibly. All right, everyone. I think what I'm going to do for this video today is we're just going to read a little bit from Israel Regardie's. I brought the middle pillar and a garden of pomegranates. I just thought it would be a lot cooler to come out here in the woods than to just sit inside and film. So I'm just gonna have to find a good spot for this camera here, and then I'll stop shaking it all around. I meditated back here in pitch black one time. It was nighttime. I think it was only one time that I did that. And there was something that rustled right in front of me, and I don't know if it was a squirrel or if it was an animal or what it was, but I'll never know to this day. Another couple funny stories is I'm back here in the wintertime. It's like, there's snow on the ground and everything. And I'm, pretty deep in my meditation there. And I feel like a presence. And sure enough, I open my eyes and there's a guy with like snowshoes on, walking back here. And I was just really surprised to see him. And I'm just like, well, hey there. So hopefully I'm not too far away from the camera, and you'll be able to hear my voice okay. So I'll try to speak up a little bit. Another funny story is I was doing, I believe, an LBRP back here one day, and there were some people that had camped out near the entrance before you start out on the trail, and I just figured, they're hanging out, whatever. They're gonna stay out there. Well, I'm about halfway through, finishing the LBRP, and sure enough, they come walking my direction, and I have my athame and everything, so I had to stop what I was doing, and I just kind of, like whistled and pretended like I wasn't doing anything. So that's kind of another funny story that I have being back here and meditating, so frequently. I don't come out here to meditate too much anymore. If I am going to meditate out here, I'm definitely not performing like full-blown, rituals or practices anymore. I just don't feel safe enough. Like I feel at this point that, you never know when somebody could come walking up. So it's not like a forest where it's entirely secluded, but for the most part, there's not really anybody that comes back here. So I've kind of just, changed my mind on a lot of things. I used to be really headstrong back then and would just go out and do it no matter what. So I'm a little more reserved now. So this is, I'm going to be 33 in November. So I'm starting to get up there a little bit. And 33 is that magical number, of course, we know. So I don't know exactly which sections I'm going to end up reading. I'm going to start in the Pentagram chapter in the middle pillar by Israel Regardie. Israel Regardie is also the one that released the Golden Dawn, the complete works of the Golden Dawn, or as some people call it, the Black Brick. because it's so dense of information and stuff. So make sure you check that out as well. If you are not familiar with my YouTube channel, or if you're new to this content, what I do on here is I break down obviously different esoteric research material, Kabbalah, Freemasonry, ceremonial magic, the Tree of Life, all related things to that is what we talk about on here. So let's get into it. The chapter on the pentagram. Getting a little bit into some of the sciences of the pentagram. Of course, the LBRP, and you all know kind of my views on that. It's not a bad operation, it's just one that I don't feel like it's necessary to do all the time, because it kind of leaves you with more of a blank slate type of feeling. So you want to make sure that you're invoking as well. The LBRP is one of the most important magical tools that the ceremonial magician has at his disposal. The following rendition is only slightly different from the one presented in Chapter 3. It is the version that we prefer to use. So he goes on and talks about the Kabbalistic cross and how to actually perform the LBRP. Of course, I'm sure most of you know these operations and these steps by now, so I'm not going to cover that. I do a whole video series on how to do the LBRP if you want to go and check that out. It's a whole playlist in and of itself. Magical work involves change and creation, and the subject of the magician's work is the self. The magician is the focus of his or her own alchemical process. By adapting one's personal vision to reflect the macrocosm, we can change ourselves to better reflect those divine ideas. We may alter our body, appearance, the chemical composition of our blood, and the configuration of our nervous system. We may tame the feral beasts that dwell within our organic structure. By changing ourselves to resonate with the divine, we may transmute every portion of ourselves and become as purified vessels for the eternal spirit. Okay. So of course, yeah, the subject of the magician's work is always going to be centered around the self. Because really, what you find out at the end of the day, if you're far enough along on this path, is that you are the universe. It's you. Like, you are it. And if you haven't figured that out by now, it's not something out there. You know, it's all within. So I'm going to have to agree with Israel Regardi on that. By adapting one's personal vision to reflect the macrocosm, we can change ourselves to better reflect those divine ideas. So yeah, getting in tune with, and a lot of spiritual traditions or shamanic traditions, there's this idea of, you know, in Freemasonry, you have the rough ashlar, and you smooth out the stone, and that creates the perfect ashlar. Kind of this idea of perfecting oneself by getting oneself in alignment with divine will, or the higher self, the higher genius, source, if you will, so that that energy can become channeled and you can become a conduit for that energy. My only problem is we are human beings, and we're meant to have many physical experiences, and we don't want to lose our humanity so much that we just become this pure vessel for these foreign influences, which we know that we always have a connection to ultimate source, but there's a lot of other things we can connect to and become almost like a sacrifice to, that may not even be in our best interest. So you just have to be really careful when you're channeling that divine will, that you're not just being a tool, but you also do want to be a conduit and a vessel for good works in this world. So it's always a balance of aligning yourself with that higher will, that higher self, and just becoming one with source, unity consciousness. But at the same time, we're individual beings, and we all have individuality as well, and that needs to be respected. So as long as you keep those boundaries, you know, in check. And of course, he talks about the nervous system here. We may tame the feral beasts that dwell within our organic structure. So he's talking about the carnal lusts, maybe some of the more physical desires, which they do, in a sense, they might, in a way, bring you out of alignment with certain aspects of your higher self, but at the same time, you are meant to embrace those aspects of yourself. Even the very physical and carnal ones, the ones that people may look down upon, or like, oh, that's impure, or, you know, you're focused too much on the physical or the carnal aspects of something, but at the same time, it may actually be the experience that you need, that your higher self, that your soul ultimately actually needs for that moment in time. That may be what is best for your evolutionary progression. So to try and bypass all of these, we could call them like lower forces or just denser forces within ourselves, these more primal aspects and instincts. If we are just overriding that, there's danger in that as well. So don't always view these things as an enemy. It's all just within the self. So if it's an enemy, you're at war with yourself. You are the enemy. Your enemy, you become your own worst enemy, if that makes sense. Rites such as the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram represent this spiritual goal. So the way he was wording it, that's what the LBRP is going to move you more towards. Which, as we said before, it's not a bad thing. You are purifying your vessel, you are doing those sorts of things, but at the same time, just be wary. The LBRP explains this goal in mathematical and Kabbalistic terms. It sets a pattern for self-growth which has a powerful influence on the subconscious mind. It symbolically places us in a correct relationship to the one divine source. And that's something I do really like about the LBRP and the LIRP, is that you are in the middle of the circle. You're the dot in the center of the circle. You're the sun at the center of the universe. There's something else I wanted to say. You have the 4 archangels surrounding you in the 4 quarters. So you are, those forces represent aspects of yourself as well. So you are those forces. So it's just all this divine energy that's surrounding you. So there is like almost this self-deification, like self-empowering type feeling that comes from doing these sorts of practices. You know, you feel that you do feel more of a sense of connection. You do feel empowerment from these. So I think there is a lot of power and positive things to be said about that. When we are in this correct relationship, it becomes much easier for us to fight off any hostile influence from within or from without. And that is true. I find that when I, stay consistent with my practices and I stay on top of them, it teaches you self-discipline, and it does help you, so you stay more in alignment with what your true passions actually are. So if you have hobbies, you tend to be more in alignment with doing those things, rather than if you don't keep up with your practices and you fall more into things that become like escapism in a way, if that makes sense. By continued practice of rituals such as the LBRP, we can produce the physical and astral conditions which will make it easier for us to realize our true place in the divine universe. So physical and astral conditions. The pentagram is a symbol of the Logos, or the word of creation, which connects the essential divine self in humanity to the one divine self called God. So the divine human connecting to the one divine self called God. So it's all the same, just experiencing itself in different ways. So I'm going to skip, there's a section here on the formula of the LBRP, the origins of the pentagram ritual. I think I'm going to skip these sections and get into, here we go, what the pentagram represents. I wanted to get a little bit more into the actual mechanics of the pentagram itself. No one knows the exact magical origins of the pentagram, or pentalpha as it is sometimes called in older texts. For centuries, the 5-pointed star has been used as a symbol of protection and a talisman for health and well-being. So funny that it's been demonized, you know? It was popular among the Babylonians, Egyptians, Assyrians, and Hebrews, so lots of different cultures adopted it. According to Eliphas Levi, magicians of old used to draw the symbol upon their doorsteps to keep malevolent spirits out and beneficent spirits in. And as early as the 6th century BCE, Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher and mystic, used the pentagram as a holy symbol for his followers. Interesting. 5 was a number peculiarly, that's a hard word to say. 5 was a number peculiarly associated with the ideas of marriage and union, as it is the first number beyond the monad formed from the union of the first odd and even numbers. Interesting. First number beyond the monad formed from the union of the first odd and even numbers, male and female. It is also said to represent the human figure with arms and legs outspread. And we know that because when you, during the, at the end of the LBRP, when you stand with your arms outstretched, for about me flames the pentagram, and within me shines the 6-rayed star. Your body is the star, it is the pentagram. The shape of the 5-pointed star seems to be one of nature's favorite geometric designs. It can be found in flowers, fruit, and crystalline forms. In magic, the pentagram represents the 4 elements, of course, plus one other, spirit. The number 5 is attributed to the Pentagrammaton, 5-lettered name. It's a natural extension of the Tetragrammaton, the holy and hidden 4-lettered name of God signified by the letters YHVH, which is one of the sacred God names that you vibrate in one of the quarters in the LBRP, of course. In the Pentagrammaton, the letter Shin is placed in the center of the YHVH, resulting in the name of Yeshua. This is the name of Jesus in Hebrew. But more importantly, to magicians, it is the 4 elements of fire, water, air, and earth, with the addition of the 5th element of spirit. So you see these stories, these allegories, these different characters, they represent more primal mechanics of the universe, but you're just being told stories and allegories. There's always a deeper underlying component, and that's what the true occult sciences are. The element of spirit binds together and governs the other 4. 2 interesting words, binds and governs, which are the metaphysical building blocks of all that exists. And I think you can even take this, in regards to how you connect with people. You can connect with people on a mental level. You can connect with people on a physical level. You can connect with people on an emotional level. You can connect with people on a mental level. You can connect with people on a spiritual level, spiritual being the highest. So if the spiritual alignment is not in alignment, that's going to be the hierarchy over all the other aspects. Spirit transcends the others. It's called the quintessence, crowns and connects the other 4. It is spirit which transcends the others and makes the whole of the pentagram greater than the sum of its parts. Spirit is the divine and guiding principle. This is one reason magicians stress that it is important to keep the spirit point of the pentagram facing upward. To reverse it would be to subject spirit to the governance of matter. Thus, the inverted pentagram signifies chaos and evil. Well, I just happen to be wearing a upside-down pentagram. I don't really believe in the negative connotations of it. I just believe it is more magnetic in nature. It pulls in energy more, and it is more carnal based. It just means you're focusing or shifting your degree of conscious awareness and experientiality to a more physical vibration rather than a more celestial, etheric, or spiritual one. But remember, it's all parts of the same thing anyway. Did you know that the upright pentagram exists within the upside down pentagram. So keep that into consideration as well. Eliphas Levi states that the pentagram signifies the domination of the mind over the elements, and the demons of air, the spirits of fire, the phantoms of water, and ghosts of earth are enchained by this sign. Interesting. Note 10. Okay, that just tells what book it was from. Transcendental Magic. I don't know if that's a page number, 63. Elsewhere, Levi reiterates that the elementary spirits are subservient to this sign when employed with understanding. He continues, if it be asked how a sign can exercise so much power over spirits, we inquire in turn why the Christian world bows before the sign of the cross. The sign is nothing by itself and has no force apart from the doctrine of which it is the summary and the logos. So it becomes like this egregore, it becomes this conduit of the energy of the current. Now, a sign which summarizes in their expression all the occult forces of nature, a sign which has ever exhibited to elementary spirits and others a power greater than their own, fills them naturally with respect and fear, enforcing their obedience by the empire of science and of will over ignorance and weakness. By the pentagram is also measured the exact proportions of the great and unique Athanor. I don't know what that is. Athanor. I can't look it up because I'm filming a video, of course, but look that up. Let me know what that means. Necessary to the confection of philosophical stone and of the great work. The most perfect alembic, I know that's an alchemical term, alembic, in which the quintessence can be elaborated, is conformable to this figure, and the quintessence itself is represented by the sign of the pentagram. All right, I'm going to try to kind of skip around here and see if there's anything else going on. Interesting, he has an Egyptian Kabbalistic cross in here. And trying to get up and stretch there for a second. He has you vibrating in the east. Nud, Jeru, Yebeda. I don't, it means gods of the east. Interesting. And then there's three other names that are kind of like that, and it means gods of the south, gods of the west, and gods of the north. That's kind of weird, but I guess if you resonate more with that than the archangels, you could use it. He has a Greek banishing ritual pentagram of the pentagram. Weird. He has you vibrating Theos, Ir, Pneuma. I don't recognize those names. Very, very interesting. Alternative Greek version. A Gaelic banishing pentagram ritual. Wow. A shamanic banishing ritual. Before me, Scylla of the air. Behind me, Al-Lanurk, ruler of waves. On my right hand, Ababinili of the flames. On my left hand, Nokomis, the grandmother. For about me are the four winds, and upon me shines Utea. So yeah, like some very interesting like variations of the LBRP. I didn't even know those were all a thing. So, shamanic banishing ritual, Gaelic. Yeah, wow. Okay, I'm going to read just a little bit more from this book, and then we'll jump into A Garden of Pomegranates really quick. We'll find some sections from that. Here, Levi gives us clues about the numerical dimensions of the pentagram, for by it is measured the exact proportions of the Athenor. I already read that part, sorry. The alchemical oven, which is used, it says right here, the Athenor, the alchemical oven, which is used to obtain the philosopher's stone. Oh, okay. A symbol for spiritual illumination and expanded consciousness. What is so important about the proportions of the pentagram? Through the number 5, the number of points on this figure, the pentagram is connected to the sphere of Geburah on the Tree of Life and to its corresponding planet Mars. The pentagram represents that fiery, purifying power of the divine that takes the name of Pakad, or fear, one of the titles of Geburah, whose other primary title is strength. Interestingly enough, too, it said that the Tree of the Death was originated from the sphere of Geburah, like became too over-empowered and burst, or something like that. We've talked about that before on this channel, too. It's beautiful out here today. It really is. It's, gosh, just look at the sun just like pouring in through the trees and stuff. It's amazing. Incredible. It's like being in Skyrim or something. I feel like I'm in a beautiful video game. We are in a video game. Alright, let's see what we've got. That's an interesting little bug. I don't know if you can see him or not. Oh, he fell off my finger. But yeah, I was talking about Geburah being the origin of the Tree of Death. But that's kind of confusing too, because I thought that the Tree of Death was formed before the Tree of Life was even formed. So I'll have to relook at that, revisit that video maybe, or just go to that part in the book. Kabbalah, Qliphoth, and Goetic Magic. If you've not checked out that book has some of the deepest, most interesting Kabbalistic information, in my opinion. You would be doing yourself a disservice not to at least study and understand what's in that book. Another higher function of Geburah is that of Din, meaning justice, judgment, or severity. And Din is one of the 3 golden goddesses in Zelda, the Ocarina of Time, interestingly enough. I talk about that in my book, Freemasonry and Ceremonial High Magic. I actually break down the Tree of Life and the Tree of Death pretty well in that book. So if that's something that you're interested in checking out, go and check out my Patreon. You can get most chapters for $5. If you want the whole book, audiobook, it's $10. But you do get a lot of value from it. So even if you just subscribe for a month, you're getting a lot. The divine name of Geburah is Elohim Gibor, or God of Battles. According to Iamblichus, a Neoplatonic philosopher magician of the 4th century, the pentad is highly expressive of justice, and justice comprehends all of the other virtues. I always go to the footnotes to see if there's anything of interest. In his book Numbers, Their Occult Power and Mystic Virtues, he states that the pentad is called the Unconquered. Westcott also states, Proclus on Hesiod gives 2 reasons for its semblance to justice, because it punishes wrong and takes away inequality of possession, and also equalizes what is less to benefit. Thus, the number 5 provides us with the ideas of fear, strength, severity, power, and justice. The awesome energy of Geburah can strike fear into the minds of negative powers and those who do not understand its harsh, purifying, and equilibrating power. Very cool. Eliphas Levi tells us that the pentagram is a potent sign that extends its powers over the elementary intelligences that inhabit the astral realms. The pentagram exercises a great influence upon spirits and terrifies phantoms. However, to the magician who uses it with a divine intent, the pentagram is a potent symbol of strength and justice. The pentagram has always been misunderstood and feared by those who do not comprehend its sacred meaning. And this that I'm about to read, let's see what this is from. Ibid. 237 Ibid. I don't know what Ibid is, but We proceed to the explanation and consecration of the sacred and mysterious pentagram. At this point, let the ignorant and superstitious close the book. They will either see nothing but darkness, or they will be scandalized. The pentagram, which in the Gnostic schools is called the blazing star, you have that with Freemasonry too, is the sign of intellectual omnipotence and autocracy. It is the star of the Magi. It is the Word made flesh. The sign of the pentagram is also the sign of the microcosm, and it represents what the Kabbalists of the books Zohar term the microprosopis. The complete comprehension of the pentagram is the key of the two worlds. Sorry, I'm just trying to absorb it as I'm reading it. I'll go back a little bit. The sign of the pentagram is also the sign of the microcosm, and it represents what the Kabbalists of the book Zohar term the microprosopis. The complete comprehension of the pentagram is the key of the two worlds. It is absolute philosophy and natural science. As will be seen, all mysteries of magic, all symbols of the gnosis, all figures of occultism, all Kabbalistic keys of prophecy are summed up in the sign of the pentagram. So everything is it's all inclusive. Which Paraclesis, how do you actually say that? Is it Paracelsus or Paraclesis? I don't know. Proclaims to be the greatest and most potent of all signs. He claims it to be the most potent of all signs. All right. So some cool stuff we found in there. I'm sure there's a lot of other cool information in that book, but hopefully y'all got something from that. Let's jump over to the Garden of Pomegranates. And I really want to start studying pathworking, because pathworking is not something that I know a lot about. I've come to understand the Sephiroth pretty well in all their correspondences, and I've worked with the Sephiroth through Middle Pillar ritual, mostly through Middle Pillar. When you're doing the different divine names at each level, I also envision the Tree of Life overlaid on my body as well. And then you can even do an advanced version of that too, where you not only have the 4 elemental archangels surrounding you and Metatron and Sandalphon above and below, and then you have the Tree of Life archangels superimposed on your body, but then you can also do the 12 zodiacal angels around you too. And Damien Eccles, he talks about different practices like that, and even expanding that even further with the Shem operation and stuff. Be sure to check out his book, Angels and Archangels. That's a great book. Just hit 333 on the video. That was cool too. I wonder if Damien's run into any of my stuff. I don't know if he would really like my channel or not. I'd be interested to hear what he had to say. So of course this goes through the Sephiroth. Each one of them are summarized pretty well, and I use this as a reference to add to my book as well. And I have all my references listed. I didn't list them in the actual audiobook, but they will be listed, once the book's actually complete and everything. And I try to mention them as I'm writing the book too, not just listed at the end. It has all the different explanations of the paths. There's a chapter on Adam Kadmon, the literal Kabbalah continued, the ladder, scrying on the Tree of Life. Is this what we want to kind of get into a little bit? So yeah, this is somebody who's doing path working, and of course it starts out with Malkuth, you start at the bottom of the tree of life. And you ascend the tree, sphere by sphere. So it starts with a guided visualization into Malkuth. There's a whole interesting, like little ritual that you imagine in your mind's eye with the archangels. It's actually really kind of cool. And then you go through the 32nd path of Tau, and then you do a guided visualization into the path of Tau on the tree of life. After that, you travel into Yesod, a guided visualization into Yesod. Then you go the 31st path of Shin. So it's this large, long process. The 30th, let's see, what was after? Yeah, the 31st path of Shin. And then it gives you a guided visualization to get into Shin. The 30th path of Resh. So it just keeps going on and on and on. So I think since Archangel Raziel is like my favorite archangel, I'm going to go ahead and read the guided visualization. I've read it once before, not on this channel, but I've read it myself, and it is pretty interesting. Does this book have an index? That would be really nice. Let's see, where does Raziel show up in this book? Interesting. He's on page 164. I wonder what he shows up there as. I hear you wherever you are. Is that a bird making that sound? Looks like maybe 456, 469, and okay, so he's actually not only part of the moving into Chokmah, but he plays a role somewhere in the visualization into the path of Aleph as well, so perhaps we'll read from that too. 469, 474. So Raziel can take you all the way up to Kether, which makes sense. He's very much, I see Raziel as like a gatekeeper. He's like heaven's gatekeeper. You know, don't take that literally in maybe the Christian sense, but more in the energetic sense. He's also on page 164 too. I wonder what. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and start reading. A guided visualization into Chokmah, and then as soon as I'm done reading with this, I'm probably gonna go ahead and wrap up the video. So this is probably gonna take me I don't know. I may skip around this a little bit, we'll see. The student journeys from Malkuth to Yesod and Tiphareth, From there, he travels the 15th path of Hay to the temple of Chokmah. He encounters the archangel Raziel and the angelic choir known as the Ophanim. He finds himself on a high mountain peak where he has a vision of the Hebrew god Yahweh. Chokmah symbol is the Thyrsus? Interesting. What is that? Will it tell me? A staff or wand carried by the Greek god Dionysus, tipped with a pine cone and twined with ivy, a phallic symbol of fertility. Interesting. On entering the temple of Malkuth, you give the appropriate signs. Sandalphon takes you up the path of Tau to Yesod. From there, you ascend the path of Samik to Tipareth. Then you rise up the path of Hay. You find yourself standing at the end of the 15th path, facing the door to the astral temple of Chokmah. A large gray door is before you. Carved into this door is the Hebrew letter Cheth, painted in white, giving the projection sign. You step through the door into the second Sephirah. Once inside, you give the sign of silence. I'm trying to remember which letter Cheth is, and I used to know all my Hebrew letters really well. I even knew each of their numerical values, but I no longer do. The Temple of Chokmah is a round chamber. Its circular wall is constructed from gray stones of every size and shape. An outline of the zodiacal wheel is engraved on the ceiling as well as the floor. The wheel is divided into 12 houses with the symbols of the appropriate zodiacal sign within each house. This makes sense because Raziel and Chokmah correspond to the zodiac, or the fixed stars. The air is scented with musk, and the only thing in the room is a central altar made of star ruby, on which are 2 white candles in a bowl carved from turquoise containing the central flame of the temple. So the central altar is made of star ruby, on which are 2 white candles in a bowl carved from turquoise. Yeah, the sapphire, or I'm sorry, the ruby, I'm trying to think of what correlation that has. I was thinking it would be sapphire, but interesting. Paradoxically, the chamber seems very calm and full of activity at the same time. You vibrate the sacred names which awaken the inhabitants of Chokmah, the divine name Yah and the name of the archangel Raziel. Then you call on the order of angels known as the Ophanim. A dark form slowly materializes just east of the altar. You can barely make out the figure of a man dressed in neutral gray robes. So perfectly does his form blend into the gray walls of the sanctuary. His face is completely covered by a gray hood. Sprouting from his shoulders are 2 great dove gray wings, the feathers shimmering with a slight iridescence, like gasoline on water. Raziel, the herald or secret of God, speaks to you in a deep, sonorous voice. You have entered the realm of the illuminating intelligence. By what symbol dost thou enter herein? You answer, by the symbol of the Thyrsus. Thyrsus? Raziel gives a slight nod. He directs your attention to the temple flame on the altar. The fire flares up suddenly and the room around you becomes transparent. Then the sanctuary fades from view. It is replaced by nebulous gray swirling clouds. You hear the voice of the archangel speaking to you. It is written, "For the Father perfected all things and delivered them over to the second mind, which the whole race of men call the first." Interesting. So the mind that all men call the first mind is actually the second mind. You find yourself standing on a hill next to a tree. You are inside a large green globe representing the earth. Above your head is a spherical ceiling painted with images of the sun, the moon, and the stars against an indigo background. It seems quite strange to you that the heavens should appear so flat and your body so large that you can see the curvature of the earth. Reaching upwards, you touch the surface of the painted heavens. It feels like paper. You tear a hole in the painting and push your head in the upper part of your body through the opening. What you see on the other side takes your breath away. Before you are rotating bands of clouds, fire, and light in every spectrum of the rainbow. In wave after wave, the energy patterns roll steadily downward from above in a graceful ballet of movement. The movement also proceeds in ways that you cannot easily define, forward and backward, inward and outward. It is as though on one level you are looking at the lungs of the universe, breathing in the pure divine energy and breathing out the life force of the cosmos. So yeah, if you ever invoke Archangel Raziel, I've had some really interesting visualization experiences with him, most definitely. So yeah, I'm going to read just a little bit more. I'm not going to read too much more. You could probably get a free PDF of Israel Regardie's A Garden of Pomegranates and the Middle Pillar online at this point, probably. But also like Amazon, I'm sure you could get them used for pretty cheap too. You also see the band of the zodiac, constellation after constellation moving in one direction slowly around the earth. Then, gliding effortlessly through the bands of the clouds, you see several circular shapes rising and falling in the mists in a rhythmic dance. They appear to be the same golden wheels that you first encountered on the 18th path of Cheth. I wonder if those are the angels that are shaped like, giant wheels from Ezekiel's vision. The four wheels all turn in one direction, yet inside the rim of each wheel is a smaller wheel that turns in a direction perpendicular to the outer wheel. The rims are covered with eyes, and each wheel is surrounded by a white halo of many rings. So yeah, there you go. One of their number moves toward you and across the clouds. It speaks to you in a familiar voice that you recognize as belonging to the Archangel of Chokmah, and his persona as Raziel Chokmael, ruler of the angelic host of the second Sephirah. Raziel speaks. So that's interesting. Raziel's taking the form of this, one of the wheels, those type of angels. I am the sent forth one of God, the keeper of the secrets divine, the sapphire book of wisdom. See, that's why I thought sapphire would make more sense. In legend, I am the archangel who first taught the secrets of the Kabbalah and the wisdom of the stars to Adam in the Garden of Paradise. I am the awareness of the singular power of the universe. I have a whole playlist on Archangel Raziel, so if you have not gone and checked out those videos, make sure you go and check those out. Raziel continues, we are the Ophanim, the wheels, and the many-eyed ones. Yeah, I think that was the angelic order of Chokmah, is that right? Yeah, the angelic choir known as the Ophanim. I am the awareness of the singular power of the universe. Raziel continues, we are the Ophanim, the wheels, and the many-eyed ones. We are the order of angels associated with the sphere of Chokmah, the sphere of force and power. We are the spirals of evolution, providing essential energy and motivation, and initiating all activities, beginnings, endings, and transformations. The astrological influences of the constellations, born from the ever-expanding genesis of the universe, is directed in its motion by us. Our work is described in terms of resonance, cycles, rhythms, and frequencies. We are the principle of energy and change, refracting the primal energy from Kether into viable cycles and patterns of power and the continuance thereof. We also break down complex patterns of energy into their primal forms before returning to Kether. Into their primal forms, so it goes back into its primitive essence. And we operate the cycles of karma. We are the upholders of wisdom, and we aid the archetypal masculine in the manifestation of his presence through willpower and primary activation of force. Very interesting. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there, because if I were to read the whole thing, all of the sections that I wanted to, I guess I'll go ahead and finish out this this particular section. It's the guided visualization into Chokmah, but it seems that Raziel does get referenced in these other sections up until you move into the sphere of Kether. The vision of the Ophanum fades out to gray. You find yourself standing on the snow-covered peak of a mountain. Interesting, I'm in the snow mountain area of the giants in Elden Ring right now. Almost did a video on Elden Ring yesterday, but I was not feeling so good. I was just really kind of depressed yesterday, so not feeling it. The summit is so high that it is completely engulfed in gray clouds. To your right, you see the peak of a second mountain, and far below you is a dark ocean. This must be the roof of the world, you think to yourself. There is a low rumbling sound, and the mists suddenly split open. You see a vision of the high God of the Hebrews, the form of the mighty God Yahweh as outlined against the sky in a rainbow of fire. He has the stately figure of a wise old king with long, milky white hair and beard. He is dressed in a plain gray robe, and in his right hand he holds a rough wooden staff. When he speaks, the sound of his voice is like 1,000 thunders. I am the thought that dwells in the light. I am the movement that dwells in the all. I am the invisible one within the all. I exist within the silence, within my thought. It is I who am laden with the voice. It is through me that knowledge comes forth, uttering a voice by means of thought. I am the thought of the Father, and through me proceedeth the knowledge of everlasting things. I am a mystery, invisible to all those who are visible in the all, light dwelling in light. It is written, I am yesterday, today, and tomorrow, for I am born again and again. I am that whose force is unmanifest and nourisheth the dwellers in the west. I am the guider in the east, the Lord of two faces who seeth by his own light. I am the hidden wisdom of the soul, creator of the gods. I am he who bursteth the bonds. Bursteth the bonds, interesting. Uttermost extension is my name. I bring to its fullness the force which is hidden within me. I am he who cometh forth as one who breaketh open the gates. And everlasting is the daylight which my will hath created. Because it's all this masculine energy. It's the divine masculine. I shine forth as the Lord of life in the glorious law of light. I travel on high. I tread upon the firmament. I raise a flashing flame with the lightning of mine eye. Adapted from the 64th chapter of the Book of the Dead as given by Farr in Egyptian Magic. Interesting. A bolt of gray lightning issues from the eyes of Yahweh. It strikes the second mountain peak off to your right, blasting a hole in the elevation. The energy from the blast reaches deep down into the core of the earth, where a process of thermal heating commences. So this is all like symbolic of internal alchemy too. The mountain explodes in a shower of rock, ash, and gas. Lava gushes out of the hole into the many crevices below the summit. The lava flows down into the vast, dark ocean below, sending up angry clouds of steam as the molten rock is swallowed by the salty sea. Eventually, so much lava reaches the water that it forms an extended landmass, a new peninsula of igneous rock projecting out from the shoreline. Years after it cools, the new land formed here will be cultivated by the various creatures of the earth, who will make it their home. You marvel at the process of planetary evolution that changes the very surface of the earth, the cosmic force whose power activates new growth. You look up as the vision of Yahweh fades and the clouds assume their normal appearance. I don't know how accurate of a depiction of Yahweh this really is, though, because if you view Yahweh more from the law of one perspective, he's just like a being. He's not like a primal creator in the way that like this archetypal force is that they're speaking about, I feel like. You look up as the vision of Yahweh fades and the clouds assume their normal appearance. Your journey into Chokmah has arrived at its completion. Following the path of Hay, you return to the temple of Tiphereth, and from there you descend the path of Samek to Yesod. You continue down the path of Tau to the temple of Malkuth. Sandalphon closes the portal behind you. You salute the Archangel of Malkuth with the projection sign. She answers with the sign of silence. So, yeah, very interesting stuff. So, pathworking, it seems. Seems like it's very, very intensive meditation. You have to have a lot of visualization skills. Like, it's a lot more visualization than compared to something like the LDRP or something like that. So, all right, everyone. This video went almost an hour long. So thank you for staying tuned if you made it this far into the video. Be sure to stay tuned for more content soon. If you found value from any of this, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and hit the notification bell to be notified of new videos. So, all right, everyone. Peace and blessings, and until next time.